Cowboys. What y'all got to say? Oh, we about to go to the...
Shut up! Before I bust a cap up in your ass.
I thought y'all was beating the world.
Shut up!
Maybe next...
Say another motherfucking word and this shit is over.
But we the most hated franchise and everybody...
Shut the fuck... Shut... Did I say... No! Oh, shit! Say it again. Say something else. Oh! Say something else. Say something else.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host Brian Parker, along with my co-host Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, man?
And another day, another dollar. That's what I say. Goodness. Well, I like to first thank everybody for tuning in. We are streaming live and direct on Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, Instagram, as well as YouTube. Help us on our drive for 10,000 subscribers by going to our YouTube channel and searching Empower TV. That's the best way to help. But also, you can always help by wherever you're viewing us from to like, share, and subscribe that way as well. Certainly appreciate it. Before I even start with anything else, I just wanted to take a second and congratulate one Miss tonight, Hargrove, for graduating UNCC. Very, very proud. And as you are, Randall, I'm sure you're very happy that she is out there now.
Over the moon, man. Just over the moon. Excited about her future. I'm glad that all the people chimed in to congratulate her. She had just an excellent weekend. We had a very tiring weekend, but it was an excellent weekend. Yeah. There was like 500 graduates that we had to sit through as far as names being called. So yeah, that was a very, very long process. But nonetheless, my daughter's name got called, so I'm good.
I know that's right. That is awesome, man. Definitely happy for you guys with that too. And guys, too, going into 2025, y'all need to check out Randall because he is one of the hardest working people out there. He has one of his bands, and that's my old thing. Hold on, I pulled up the wrong one. I got two clips. This one shows. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Kendrick Cole band. You can check them out on Instagram. They will be back in 2025 performing, as well as Randall's other bands as well. So check out all of that. They will be in an area near you, if you're in the Charlotte area, that is.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. And guys, just as I did that, if you are a business owner, if you have a side job or a hustle that you do and you want to be able to promote that, please reach out to me at theparkermedia@gmail.com. We can certainly work with you guys to do that. We know advertising is very, very expensive on legacy media and things like that. So we definitely want to be able to help the community be able to spread the word without breaking your bank at the same time to do it. So definitely want to keep you up on that as well. Woo! Now, going into the real things, my goodness, man. Another crazy, crazy week in the NFL. I cannot believe we have actually made it to 15 weeks out of the 18 regular season weeks. Absolutely unbelievable. And the last 3 weeks are going to be fire for a lot of teams. Some teams have clinched. But they haven't won their division, so there's still some jockeying of positions. So a lot of teams still can't necessarily say we're going to rest players because, how these next couple of weeks kind of work out may determine whether they have a home playoff game versus going on the road versus winning the division and having a first week bye. So a lot of those things are still up in the air. So while some things are starting to come into focus, some things still haven't. There's some teams on the outside looking in that need to do a lot of things on their part, but are going to need a lot of things to go also their way. They're going to need help from other teams to even have a shot, and it always comes down to that. And now with the college bowl season upon us, the NFL has taken definite advantage of that, as they always do, by spreading some of those games out onto Saturdays, which then puts a lot of those games on a prime time level that you can view without having to worry about 3 or 4 other games going on simultaneously. So, Rand, it's going to be a crazy week going forward, but we had a crazy week this past week as well.
We sure did, man. I can't believe we're going into week 16. That's just like blowing my mind. It's like this thing is wrapping up, and I don't want it to wrap up. It's like
Right.
it's so fun, man. It's been
It's
so
just
fun.
as it hits its stride, then it's almost over.
Yeah. But the NFL is just genius for the way they have the season set up, the way they have you looking forward to things and counting down the days to the things like draft and schedule release and then free agency, and training camp and then repeat cycle. It's just
Yeah.
a genius product, the way they got things marketed and set up and keep the public just on pins and needles, just waiting for the next thing to drop. So, yeah.
They really are. And I'll give them credit. They are always trying something different, whether it's NFL Europe, NFL Brazil. They're trying to expand the viewership of the game. Even, I was a little skeptical a couple of years ago about them putting games on Amazon. Seemed to be okay.
Mhm.
Now Netflix is going to take a bite of the apple. So, you know, what they've realized is, and it's good, is that the days of when my dad used to sit there and watch games on one of the, major channels, CBS, ABC, Fox, something like that, those days are over. Now, it's not that they don't have a place anymore, but this is not the only place where people consume media. As a matter of fact, with the dying of cable, a lot of those typical broadcast channels are now facing more and more competition than ever before with the likes of Amazon and Netflix. And, Hulu's bound to be there at some point. Hell, you may even start to see somebody like an HBO throw their name in the hat or something like that.
Oh, sure. They already got, in season,
Yeah,
so what is
yeah.
that show? I forget the name of the show, but they
The
Hard Knocks. They already
Hard
got in season Hard Knocks going on. So that's just a step towards regular season broadcasting, I'm sure.
And you know what? Hard Knocks just kind of reminds me more of when I walk by my wife and she's watching these reality shows, and I'm like, the hell do you care that they call each other the B word every 5 seconds? They got fake boobies, and all they doing is just talking about how they like this person, but this person don't like them, and da 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 da. But what do you get out of that? And she's just because she's all into it. I'm like, she's like a zombie. Hard Knocks is kind of like that for NFL fans. You
It's
watch
just a
all the
drama. Yep.
drama, you watching all the scene stuff that has very little to do with the field. There's no games being played. It's just all of the stuff but they figured out a way to captivate the audience into the NFL being closer to a year-round deal than in the old days when my dad was around, where the NFL was about 6 months, and then 6 months it was dark. You didn't
Yeah.
really you didn't hear a lot about combines. You didn't hear a lot about draft. You didn't hear a lot about training camp, OTAs, all those types of things. And now with the world of fantasy football, and now with sports books and things like that, it's a whole different thing. I even heard Mad Dog Russo talk about how the Jets didn't cover the spread because it was 3.5, and they only I think they pulled it out by 3, if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of feel on that too, because I actually I'm sorry, they ended up covering the spread. They were playing it close where it got tied, and then they scored at the end, so they did end up covering the spread. That's what it was. So they did help me out with that, because it looked like they weren't going to cover. But you start looking at stuff like that, and looking at teams and stuff like that, and if you're a fan of a team, it's kind of hard for you to bet against your team, even though they're going to lose and they're not going to cover the spreads. and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But teams that aren't really yours, you may have other interest in them, and all that does is now make you have to pay attention to games other than the ones that you're fans of.
Yeah, it's a genius product, man. And things like fantasy football, you got to individually follow folks. And even like the Hard Knocks thing that we were just talking about, thank on Antonio Brown for that, because seriously, because like forever and a day when Hard Knocks first was broadcast, they would do up into the fourth preseason game, and then they were out of there. You know what I'm saying? Done. But if you remember, Antonio Brown playing with the Raiders, it was after that fourth season game and right before the first one where he cussed out the owner and threw a tantrum on the sideline.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
and,
Yes.
and the cameras had stopped rolling, so they didn't get any of that. They didn't get any of that. And then he goes to Tampa Bay and he takes his uniform off
Oh
and
my God. In the end zone.
he's in the end zone and he's walking off shirtless into the locker room. HBO cameras ain't rolling for that. So now they got in season Hard Knocks. So
Right.
they don't want to miss the drama, man. They don't want to miss the drama. And we can thank Antonio for that one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then of course it even goes even further if you think about it. I just sat there and gifted myself a Christmas present of a PlayStation 5. After playing Madden 25 with my brother for Thanksgiving for the first time, I'd still been playing like Madden 18 and just re-upping my seasons every year. I was like on season 2033 or something. Because every time you win the Super Bowl, which I kept winning, then it goes to the next season, and you just keep, you know, drafting these players that don't really exist. So I did that for the longest because I wasn't playing Madden like that. But I played him. I was beating the brakes off of him. I was like, I like this. So I got me a PlayStation. And then I downloaded. Here's another thing. Not having to buy disc for games, but now you can just download your games. So
Yeah.
now it's Madden 25, and now I got my Madden 25, and it's so realistic. It's got the current players and stuff like that. So again, even in the off season or even in the regular season, it's still a good way to be connected because you're still playing the teams and stuff like that. So they just got it down, man. They're
They
doing
do.
it well.
The absorption of content by the general public has just been expanded so much in the terms of my lifetime as a fan. Like
Yeah,
when I was 9, 10 years old, there was a 30-minute show that came on called Inside the NFL. No, the
yeah,
NFL Today. It
yeah.
came on at 12:30 right before games. 12:30 right before games, and they had that 30 minutes slot. And I think NBC copied it and did the same thing, and then so on and so on. And then they got expanded out to an hour before games. And then ESPN put its hat in the ring and they jumped on. They did a 90-minute before game little show. So it's just got expanded from there. I remember the draft just being like a 1 hour type deal. And now the
Yeah.
draft is like expanded over, God, man, I want to say it's 2 nights now and then a
Mhm.
day, or 2 nights and 2 days.
Yeah.
They just got all this content for the general public to soak up, and they just keep on coming up with genius ideas on how to do it. I'm looking at the Heisman show the other night, and they expanded that thing out to a whole hour now. As before, I mean, it used to just be like 10 minutes. Hey, here it is, the candidates. Hey, here's the winner. Show's over.
Congratulations. Good night.
Congratulations. Yeah. Now they got a whole hour-long deal, man. So yeah,
Exactly.
they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're doing a great job of it.
Down a lot. We have our first comment of the night. Anthony, what's going on, bro? Anthony says, why don't we hear things like the quarterback buying Christmas gifts for their linemen, but we hear Patrick always doing it?
I've heard it before. It's just Patrick's not the only one that does that, though. I've heard several quarterbacks do that just over the course of just me being a fan. So it's a fairly common deal. I've heard running backs also do
I
the
was
same.
about to say that. I've heard running backs doing that a lot too, especially ones that are having like really, really good years, acknowledging that, hey, if y'all didn't make them holes for me to go into or even do a cutback and stuff like that, or spring me free with a block down the field and stuff like that, I wouldn't be getting a lot of those things. So I've heard of it, Anthony. But what I will say is this: when you think about um, the faces of organizations being the quarterback, when you think about uh, top quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Mahomes, Josh Allen, there's a certain tier of guys that are at the top, and they're going to get more of the coverage. So it's not, and sometimes I would say to you, Anthony, I'll answer your question this way. How come we don't hear about a lot of the uh, philanthropic work that a lot of the players do with their foundations and stuff like that? But I would guarantee you that there are so many players out there that have charities and things like that that they work with in the communities and stuff like that. But maybe it just doesn't get the same kind of attention. Maybe you may hear about it if somebody's voted for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and maybe you'll hear about it in that kind of sense. But there's so many things that these players, and I applaud them for doing that they take on worthy causes, that they work on, whether it's buying uh, other millionaires Christmas gifts. Really, the ones that I'm even more interested in are the ones that say, "Hey, I'm going to take some of what I've been blessed with and give it back to a certain part of society that is underspoken for, and be able to push that and build a legacy of their foundations and stuff, not just a generational wealth, but legacies of foundations that will live on for many, many years."
Yeah, I know there are several Carolina Panthers players that get involved come Thanksgiving with turkey drives and stuff like that. And then they turn right around and do the same thing with toy drives come Christmas. But you don't hear about that. You hear about the Patrick Mahomes because he's like the most popular quarterback in the NFL right now. But you don't hear about other teams and other players because they're not winning. They're not driving the
I,
those
I,
games.
I mean, think about how many games you see, other than the defensive coordinator in the press box. Do we constantly see Taylor Swift? Um,
Yeah.
it's the things that are going to get the views. It's the things that are going to get the eyeballs. Everybody wants to know what Patrick thinks, how he feels, stuff like that. Travis Kelce, as good of a player as he was, there was no attention on him like that until he and Taylor Swift linked up. So, that's why. Who else's girlfriend gets that much attention on a camera on national TV? Nobody.
Nah, nobody.
You know what? Have you seen Josh Allen's wife? She's nice. Do you see her on TV? No. So there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
see nice
Russell
wives.
Wilson dates Sierra. You never see them even talk about that, man.
And
So
trust me, I'm okay with that. But it doesn't happen. I never see Sierra like
no.
that. I would, but anybody from the NFL is watching, I would like to just pass that on. Anthony says the Heisman show was a waste of time. We knew who was going to win. Why make it an hour long? Looks like Prime treating Hunter uh, before then his own son. Well, I wouldn't say that because they asked Prime why Shador wasn't getting uh, any uh, traction for uh, the Heisman. And Prime, here's the thing with Prime. Prime is not going to sit there and give you no coach speak. Prime is Prime. So he sat there and said, I don't even know why y'all asked me that. Y'all already know the answer. He says, and Shador doesn't even care. He says, Travis is the best player in college football. He rightfully should get it. He says, but the fact that Shador isn't even getting any kind of traction for it, it's okay. We ain't worried about no Heisman. He worried about where he gonna get drafted and stuff like that. And that's the right answer.
That
Um,
is.
and he's right. There are reasons why Shador isn't going to be considered for that, because there's other lighter skinned quarterbacks out there.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna get it, like that. So, but that's okay. Prime thinks his son is going number one. Well, when you look at the teams, that are jockeying for the number one draft pick, a lot of them need a quarterback. Is it the Raiders? Is it the Giants? Maybe not Jacksonville because they've locked themselves to Trevor Lawrence, whether they now want to or not. But a lot of these teams that are going to be jockeying for that number one, number two, hell, you can say the top three, regardless of how they fall. A lot of those teams, yeah, Raiders are at 2-12. Do they need a quarterback? Yes. Patriots are 3-11. Do they need a quarterback? Maybe not. They've got Drake May, and I think they're going to allow themselves an opportunity to see how that works. So I don't think they'll be pulling the trigger on the quarterback. The Browns are 3-11. They really do need a quarterback, but they have some financial implications that may prevent them from looking that way. I wouldn't. I would still draft a quarterback. And as soon as I could financially get the hell away from Deshaun Watson, I would definitely do that.
Yeah, you're looking at Raiders 2-12, and you're looking in the NFC at Giants 2-12. Those are two teams right there that are going to need a quarterback. They're definitely taking a quarterback, and they're sitting 1-2 in the draft right now. Mm-hmm. So when you look at that and compare it to the fact that what are the other quarterbacks out there that are coming out of the draft that are better than Shador? You got the kid from Texas. I mean, is he better than Shador? I mean, hands down, no. You got Cam Ward out of Miami. Is he better than Shador? Hands down. I mean, not in my eyes, he isn't. So yeah, his son could very well go number one overall, because as we sit here right now, the Giants are definitely taking a quarterback, and the Raiders are definitely taking a quarterback. There is not even a discussion about it.
Right. That's absolutely right. And like I said, you got some other teams out there that aren't doing that well. That's going to be high up in the draft order. And I mean, you got, like I said, you got the Jaguars. The Titans are 3-11. They just benched Will Levis. So that just came out. So you've got some teams out there that are underperforming, that the reason that they're underperforming in their estimation is they don't have a good indication that their quarterback position is okay. The Panthers, they're 3-11. But I think that they're starting to see enough of Bryce Young to get at a little time. Would it be a bad idea for them to draft a quarterback, say, in the 4th, 5th round? No, I'd be okay with
it. I'd definitely be okay with it. And Anthony, to answer your other question, why drag the Heisman show out to an hour? I mean, come on. You know the answer is it's money. It's money.
Big time.
The 30-minute show, you can get into a certain amount of commercials. An hour-long show, you get into even more commercials. More commercials means more money in their pockets, more advertising dollars. Don't be surprised if it's 90 minutes next year.
I mean, for real, because it goes back to what me and Rand were just talking about at the beginning. They're maximizing things. They know now more people are watching these things. If it's a foregone conclusion that Travis Hunter is going to get the award, then build up the stuff around it, build up the drama around it, so that, to Rand's point, those folks that are paying for those commercials are paying top dollar. Why does somebody sit there and pay $30,000 for an ad during the Super Bowl? It's the same thing. It's money.
Yeah, money.
Because they know that there's a certain amount of people that after the Super Bowl is over are going to still be talking about them commercials.
Yeah.
You're going to see
talking about the commercials. They're talking about the product.
Exactly. And that's what they want. So the short answer is money. The answer to all of this is always money, whether it's Hard Knocks, whether it's broadcasting the draft like that, whether it's having performances, whether it's, hey, why do they flex games? Money. Why do they put games on Saturday after the college football season? Money. That's why. Yeah, because they make more money doing it. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. You maximize the product that you have to make it bigger, because what happens when they maximize the amount of money that they're bringing in, that money gets split out to the teams. When the teams are making that much money, then the players make more money because of collective bargaining and everything else that's tied to that. So everybody eats off of it, and that's
Mhm.
what they're trying to do.
And now NCAA football has caught on. You know, it used to be season over, and we have this big old long gap between bowl games, and not anymore. Now you got playoffs.
You got
We wanted
playoffs.
teams. They got 12 teams.
Yeah, I mean, think about that part. That's the craziest thing in the world. Now that there's 12 teams competing for the chip,
Yeah,
you
and
got NIL
there's
deals. Rand, I did not. When they sat there and said that North Carolina now that Bill Belichick is Chapel Bill, and that did catch on like quickly. Um, there's a general manager for the football program.
yep.
The hell?
This thing is becoming professionalized, man, for real.
That's officially a business now.
Yeah, it is about to be.
The word that
It's
they
not
need
even
to
about
stop
to
using is student athlete.
Yep.
I don't know who the hell you talking about. If you got a general manager in addition to the athletic director, there is no such thing as a student athlete. I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
can say that, and look, we've looked well past that. They used to use that phrase a lot to discourage the whole idea of players getting paid because they're like, well, they're getting paid because they're getting a great education. That's why we call them student athletes first, because we're trying to put the emphasis on why they're there to begin with, even though wink, wink, nod, nod. No, a lot of these folks are athlete. It has nothing to do with being a student at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's hilarious when I'm like, wait a minute, dude is going to be the general manager of a college football team.
It's crazy, man. They're gonna have to change that term to
Bro,
semi-professional student athlete. That's
exactly.
what it is. That is what it is.
Exactly. Yes, you're a semi-pro. You just happen to be going to college.
That's right.
It's like an apprenticeship that pays you. That's all it is. Just call it what it is. Oh, I take a couple of classes on the side while I'm, you know, working on my pro career.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. Come on. They said general manager, man. I was just like, wow. A
Yeah.
GM.
Times have certainly changed.
Wow.
Certainly changed.
Wow. Unbelievable. And now they have these NIL funds available and stuff like that. And that's gonna be a whole nother thing. That changes the whole idea. Remember when back in the day, Dean Smith would be sitting in a kid's living room and just the gravitas. I got Dean Smith in my
Dean Smith.
room. And he's telling me that for the program to succeed, he needs me. How can I tell Dean Smith no? I can tell you how, because if Dean don't answer my next question right, he ain't getting my services.
That's right.
Because my question is going to be, how much of that NIL am I going to get out of that?
Mm-hmm.
And if the number ain't right, then you may not be getting my services. So the cachet that a lot of these coaches walk into these living rooms with now is still somewhat there, but it's been dulled by the fact that now you got to answer that question of, well, what's my NIL deal looking like?
Yeah, because it's been made so much easier to walk to another school now if you don't get the answer you're looking for out of one coach.
Or I thought that they promised me this, they ain't doing it. Transfer portal and before the portal, transferring used to be kind of frowned upon because a lot of times when you transfer, you have to sit out a season.
Yeah, it was hard. Yep.
So it's a year of eligibility. So they did that to really disincentivize people from doing it, only doing it when it was necessary. Now you got to go in, you got a red shirt, you got to do all that stuff. Then they made it where, oh no, you can transfer this year, start right next year. Like nothing happened. What?
Yeah.
So hey, it's a business, man. It's officially a business. I'm just like that's just wild to me. So things have changed, Anthony, and we have to adapt because it's going to happen whether we want it to or not.
It's just gonna expand even more, man. I mean, we were looking for 8 games for the college football playoff. They gave us 12, and the talk is 16 within the next 2 years. So it's just gonna keep on getting bigger, man.
You know what? I could see that too. Which
Yeah.
now puts on a lot of conferences that you may not have to necessarily win the conference championship like a SMU did not do, and still be able to get in,
hmm
still be
Anytime you are in Alabama and you get left out of the playoff race, they're just going to
Woo!
expand it for you. They're going to expand it for you.
Exactly, exactly. And now it really takes that burden off of you having to have an undefeated season just to be considered to be a part of it. Now you can go in with 2 losses, 3 losses, depending
Yeah,
on the schedule and stuff like that. So, why would they do that? Does it dilute stuff? I don't think so. But why did they do that again, Anthony?
dollars, man.
Show me the money.
The more games, the more money, the more television incentives, man.
Why is the NFL still flirting with that 18th game and dropping the another preseason game?
And they'll get there.
They're gonna get. Oh yeah,
Yep,
you know what? I will give it another 3 years, and there will be an 18th game.
absolutely. Next collective bargaining is going to agree to 18.
That's really all they're waiting for.
Yep.
Because again, what are the players going to be more concerned about? Hey, how much is coming our way if we do that?
hmm
Oh, really? Oh, bet. Okay. Because
Yep.
if you're going to pay me X amount of millions of dollars, well, that was based on the 17 game schedule. Now, if you're going to pay me that, it's going to be based on 18 games. So you're not going to divide that same amount by 18. You're going to have to prorate that extra game check in there. Because you ain't going to pay me the same to do more. You're going to have to now prorate it to a way so that, okay, now that covers that extra game and that extra game check. They're always going to look at it that way, as they should.
hmm
Anthony says, so the NFL flexed the Falcons versus Washington for week 17 Sunday night of Money Penix versus Daniels. Yes. Once they found out that Kirk Cousins got benched and Michael Penix Jr. is going to be starting against the Giants, isn't that who they play?
I think it's
Oh, he,
Washington.
he said week 17. Well,
Yeah.
before they play week 17, week 16, the Falcons have to play the Giants, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
uh,
true.
yes, so they got to play the Giants first uh, before they do that. But yeah, they've already flexed the Washington. That makes sense. You got 2 young quarterbacks, had a whole lot of hype on them. Jaden, we've already seen what Jaden Daniels is going to do. Now, that a lot of that hype is going to depend on what Penix does against the Giants. But is that a good bet for them? Sure, it is.
Absolutely. I think Atlanta wins that game against New York because New York is, I mean, they've trashed their season. They're trying to line up for the draft. They're not trying. So I think Atlanta gets that game. They go to, I think that will put them 7-6, something like that. But then
Yeah.
that game against Washington becomes huge for their playoff chances.
Well, actually, if they win against the Giants, it will make them 8-7.
8-7. Okay, so that'll put them one up, and then
And,
they're going to
and,
play that
that,
game against Washington, trying
and,
to
then-
get to a playoffs and a
and,
winning
and
record.
a lot of people ask, since we're talking about the Falcons, was this a good decision to go ahead and bench Cousins now when you're still in a fight for your division? It's a risky bet. It's not that Kirk Cousins has done anything to keep his position this year.
And that's where we're going to, because I think we talked about it last week. I brought up the point that in his last, I think his last 4 starts, 5 now, he's
Mhm.
thrown 10 interceptions and 0 touchdown passes,
And he
and
finally got one because he got Drake London in last week.
got Drake London in.
But
So
yeah, but it's been terrible. I mean, you couldn't barely score last week, and that was just dreadful. Matter of fact, let's take a look at that one real quick. In that Atlanta Falcons game this past week, Grant, it was. I mean, I would have rather watched Pink Dry. With they're playing against the Raiders, and it was field goal, field goal, field goals. Kirk Cousins, this was his line, Grant. 11 for 17, 112 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yeah, and if you look at the plays, I watched as much of that game as I could take. Uh, the Falcons, they took the air out of the ball from Kirk Cousins. They did the same thing that Dave Canales did to Bryce Young.
Yes.
Just cut off half the field. We're gonna make everything simple because we too scared that you're gonna turn the ball over.
Yeah, pretty much. So you're basically just look. Here's the thing, and I know I'm crossing teams right now, even though I'm talking about Atlanta, but it kind of reminds me of the same thing. When I think about the Jets, and they're talking about bringing Aaron Rodgers back for another year, but they're saying, well, Aaron will have to accept the fact that he's not the Aaron of old anymore. He won't. Aaron will have to accept the fact that he can't sit there and decide what kind of offense we're going to run because we need to run one that's for the betterment of the team. He won't. Um, Aaron will have to realize that it's going to have to involve a lot more of the running game and all of these other things for the team to be successful. He won't because he had that issue with Green Bay. And all these things they think, but what they were basically saying was, well, we just need Aaron to be able to make one or two special throws for us in the course of a game. And I'm sitting there going, you have somebody like that that doesn't have to make $60 million a year. His name is Bo Nix. His name is Sam Darnold. His name is Brock Purdy. What I'm saying is that you can take a guy or somewhat better than just a guy to do those same things without the brooding, without the attitude, without the baggage that comes along with having Aaron Rodgers. But it's like they hold on to these guys. The things that made these guys special doesn't keep them special for long. Cam Newton, the things that made Cam Newton special, once he started to lose those things, he couldn't even make a roster anymore. Once he couldn't run and start uh, 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 throwing out blows to defensive backs that thought about actually trying to tackle that behemoth, he lost his effectiveness and he was short for being in the league anymore. So what made Aaron Rodgers special, he don't have no more. What made Kirk Cousins special, whatever that was, for all these years, he obviously doesn't have it anymore. The same thing happened to Matt Ryan. When Matt Ryan left Atlanta and went to Indianapolis, it,
It
it was
was
it was crazy.
it was over.
It was over. When you start to see this, it's like, look, there's nothing. Look, they've cemented their place in the NFL lore, but sometimes you have to be able to show them the door and say, "Hey, listen, we appreciate everything that you've done, and you're always going to have a place in NFL history. But the only thing that you're doing right now is collecting a check and tarnishing it a little bit." And to Anthony's point, he said the problem players like Kurt and Deshaun Watson have is you can't bench them for long because you're paying them too much money. And that's why I applaud Raheem Morris because he said, yes, we just gave Kirk Cousins 4 or 5 years, $180 million contract with $100 million guaranteed.
Whew.
Shit. I was like, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
And you did that while he was coming off of an Achilles injury?
And it ain't like he's 20 years old.
Bruh. Now, look, most of that guaranteed money is this year and next year. 50 this year, 50 next year, I believe, or something like that, 40, and then 10 on the third year. So you already in 8 this year already because he's been playing. It's next year that you really gonna have to say, can we really eat that? Because even if it's a 4 or 5 year, technically it's a 3-year contract because the last 2 years have no guaranteed money on it at all. Yes, you got to pay him the salary, but if you cut him after the third year, you don't really owe him anything. But if you cut him now, you're gonna be on the hook for another $50 million guaranteed money, and that's gonna hit your cap. So I understand that, but at the same time, I applaud Raheem Morris because he's like, hey, they brought me in here to give this team the best chance to win. And right now, that is not Kirk Cousins.
No, no. I mean, he's just lost it, man. Um,
He fell off.
it, it- it's
112
time to move
yards
on.
in the game. 112 yards in the game. When you got guys out there like Drake, you got Drake London out there. He only had 53 yards, even though he had that touchdown. You got you got your tight end out there that ain't been doing anything. You got other receivers out there like Ray McLeod. You got Mooney. You got guys out there that are capable of catching the ball and doing those things. Listen, the guy that they kicked out of Atlanta, Ritter, ended up playing for the Raiders. He had 23 of 39 for 208. Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, you get outplayed by Desmond freaking Ritter. It might be time to hang it up, man.
I think that's that is definitely an indictment on you. You're supposed to be
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that? No, I don't. Not at all. Please stop. So even though they're fighting for the division still, I think they finally just said, you know what, we've been kicking this can down the road for a lot of games now because we kept using the fact that we were still fighting for winning the division. Now, here's the funny thing: if Washington stumps their toe down the stretch, Atlanta could actually become a wild card team, even if they don't win the division.
could
If they
be.
went, if they went out and Washington loses and Tampa keeps up what they're doing, there's a possibility of a second team coming out of the South instead
Yeah,
of the East.
it's a possibility. That NFC playoff picture is just real twisted. It's a bit more complicated than the AFC
It is.
side.
It is. So there's still hope of that, but I think they just finally said, you know what, we got to tear the band-aid off and just see what the kid can do. We're playing the Giants. This is a good now. If he just totally stinks it up where it looks like he's just overwhelmed and we got to go back to Kirk, we can certainly plug him back in and no harm, no foul. But if we're gonna find out, this is a good game that it shouldn't matter if Kirk Cousins starts or if Michael Penix starts, we should beat the Giants regardless. So this
Yeah.
kind of is like a preseason game for us because it just gives us a chance to evaluate the kid and really see what he's got.
Yeah, the Falcons and the Steelers have really broke that taboo this year. You know, they took a lot of heat. Both organizations took a lot of heat for
Yeah.
one, the Falcons going out and paying back and then drafting one so highly. People were like, "Why waste that draft pick on that?" Well, now the Falcons are looking like geniuses, and
We are.
they really are. Then with Pittsburgh, it's like, "Oh, you got one quarterback, and then you went out and you did the same thing. You picked up the guarantee for another one. What sense does that make?" Well, they looking like geniuses too because they got good use out of both of them.
They have, and they're continuing to use Fields even in a limited role, but they're still using him on some of those plays where they don't want to get Russell hurt unnecessarily. So if it's a short yardage play, 4th and 1, and you want to bring in Fields to be able to do a RPO to figure out if he needs to pull the ball back, run straight design runs too.
Hmm.
You can do that more with him, even though a couple of times this season, I've seen Russell kind of turn back the hands of time, if you will, and start to sprint out and run and stuff. And I'm like, oh crap, he giving me some of the old Russ.
Yeah,
Let's ride. I'm ready. So, but yeah, that does start to make him look good. And I've always preached for the longest that if you don't have a great backup or a decent backup, you are putting yourself in peril because all it takes is a high ankle sprain, i.e., the Kansas City Chiefs now with Patrick Mahomes suffering one and having that ability to have a Carson Wentz kind of come in and still run your offense. Somebody that's familiar with it, somebody that's been a previous first round draft pick that did bounce around for a bit, but kind of seemed to catch on with Andy Reid's offense. Um,
it's
so
super important, man. I mean, you talking
it,
about the head of your team.
it is. I mean, even now, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, having Cooper Rush there is he the most accurate? No. But can he still have some of those good games? Yes. Is he going to give it to you with consistency? No, but neither did that. Um, But then when you look at the Giants and Daniel Jones is out, then you got Danny DeVito and Drew Lock as the backups, and you see what happens with that.
Total
Uh,
dysfunction.
yeah, absolutely. You see with the Cleveland Browns when Mr. Masashi goes down, now you got famous Jameis eating W's until he starts throwing a lot of eyes. So having that backup means a lot. The Saints are having a problem with a backup, whether it's
Yep.
Hayner or whether it's
Spencer Rattler, kind of flipping back and forth with both of them because neither one of them is like showing they want to go out and win the job. So
that's right.
that quarterback position is difficult.
You got the Raiders. They can't decide if it's Aiden Connell 1 week or it's Garner Minshew another week.
Mm-hmm.
They are having those issues because there's not a backup that can come in and solidify. So when you got a Carson Wentz for the Chiefs, even if he's Patrick's backup for the next 3 years, they're okay with that. But these other teams, these backups, they may just leave them unprotected. Yeah, they can come and go. We'll just get another guy to slide in to be a backup.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they'll do. That's why you see Jameis moving so much. That's why you see guys like Drew Lock moving so much. They can't stay on one team even as a backup because they are not that special as a backup.
Nope.
That's why Tyler Huntley stayed so long with the Ravens because he was a suitable backup to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So
Makes a huge difference. Yeah.
it's huge. You got to be able to have that because the guy that touches the ball pretty much on every play, unless you run wildcats and stuff like that, you got to know that there's a guy that's behind him that knows the offense. That if that guy has to go out for a play or, God forbid, a number of games, you got a guy that at least, even if you got to kind of, whittle the playbook down just a little bit, still understands the offense, has played on the second team against that number one team and stuff like that, and has a certain sense of confidence and familiarity. And the
Yep.
players around them do too. So,
And B, I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the show, I got to get out of here at 8:15. Got an appointment I need to get to by 8:30. So
you got
me
it.
a little short tonight.
All right. Oh,
yeah,
and I'm sorry. And also, as a programming note, as y'all know, that the show is on Wednesdays. There's a problem with next Wednesday. It's going to be Christmas. So,
yeah.
The show will not be on. You might, I ain't guaranteeing it, but you might see me pop in and give you some game predictions, but it will not be a full show. I might do it. It's going to depend because I'm going to be in New York City. Going up this weekend, so I'll be up there for Christmas. And depending on how the Wi-Fi is at the Airbnb, I may throw something on Wednesday or Tuesday night. So y'all look out for that. Just maybe.
Let me know. I'll be a part of it if I can.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Probably be more.
Yeah. We were, there's one thing that you was talking about that kind of lended me to what we were talking about last week as well. But that whole consistency thing.
Mm-hmm.
The sign of a good professional quarterback is the ability not to go out there and do it one or two times, but to keep on stacking those things consistently week after week after week. That is the brand of a starter. And, that just put me into mind, we haven't seen that with Jameis Winston. He goes out there and he's hot for a minute, but then he starts to revert back to the old Jameis with all these interceptions and whatnot.
Yeah.
No consistency at the quarterback position. And that kind of leaves him as just a flinging backup for right now. Same thing with Bryce Young. He was doing very well a couple of weeks, and then he stepped back this past week at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Had a chance to win that game, and he put on a very bad performance, in my opinion. So it's consistency. When you're going to be a pro in this league at the quarterback position, it's all about stacking good performances to be a good starter.
Yeah, when I think about that Panthers game, I was impressed with the first drive until he fumbled, but I wasn't mad with him about the fumble because he was trying to get yards.
Yeah.
He didn't secure the ball. But as the game went on, I realized that defense from the Cowboys was just too much. Even without Trayvon Diggs being in the lineup, Micah Parsons is a game record. And it was just too much Cowboys. I mean, every time he looked, they were coming and he wasn't getting the ball out fast enough to negate what they were doing. The speed of the defense overwhelmed him and he reverted back to three, 4 games ago.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: Kansas City has a really good defense too, and it didn't seem like it flustered him like that. The Eagles
No.
have a good defense, and it didn't seem like it flustered him like that. But the Cowboys came in, and I was expecting the Panthers to put 40 points on the Cowboys.
Yeah, it didn't happen, man. It's like, he was getting rid of the ball very quickly against the Eagles, like you said. He was getting rid of the ball quickly against the Chiefs. But for whatever reason, he reverted back to holding that ball again with the Cowboys. So you just can't do that. And,
Yeah,
I understand he was trying to get those extra yards too when he fumbled, but you got to tuck that thing away and not let him strip
so
it, man.
if you're Josh Allen and you're going head first like that, I'm okay with that because you're big enough. But when you're the smallest guy out there, you need to slide, bro. Just slide.
Yeah, yeah,
The way quarterbacks been sliding lately and taking late hits, you might have got an extra 15 yards at the end of that slide.
hmm
And extra 15 yards at that point of the play would have had you on the 1 yard line damn near. So, but the way they did that first drive, they never duplicated it for the rest of the game. And he was spreading it out. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is how you're going to win the game. Ball control, field position, extended drives, all of those things that check, 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 check. But it seems like once he fumbled, it's like everything just the whole air came out of the balloon and they never got it back. And the
yeah,
and then the Cowboys could smell the blood in the water, and they did what a team that smells blood in the water should do. They pounced on it and they wouldn't let go. And that's what they should have done. But it was just definitely disappointing. Anthony says back to back to back, Josh Allen locked himself as an MVP. Well, Anthony, as much as I would love to say Saquon should be the MVP, after watching Josh Allen, it's hard to argue. I mean, dude was 23 or 34, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. By the way, he also ran for 2 more touchdowns, so he was responsible for 4. He had 11 rushes on the ground for 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw for 2, no picks. Uh, the only reason I'm giving him a little bit now more ran over Saquon is because he's been making everyone else around him better.
that's the whole definition of the
Yeah,
title, most valuable player. You take him off that team, or the Buffalo Bills anywhere near.
hell no, 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 no,
Woo, they're suffering without him.
no, ain't no way at all. And even though Saquon is special, I saw Miles Sanders do a lot of things running the ball behind that offensive line with Philadelphia. Not Saquon numbers,
Yeah,
but serviceable numbers. I've seen Miles Sanders, though, break off a 70-yard touchdown run behind that offensive line. I've seen him do it. That's what got him a contract with Carolina.
hmm
We realized that he was able to do that because of that line.
yeah,
Now, when you add somebody special like Saquon in there, you see it a lot more often. And then you start to go, man, this is just how it's going to be every game. And for most of the games, that's what you see. With Sanders, he'd have some games but some of those games when it was Sanders, it wasn't always Sanders. It was bad coaching because they would go away from running the ball. Because I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, I don't understand Nick Sirianni. Why aren't you running the ball? Where Sanders only had 5 carries, Gainwell only had 2 carries. Other little dude, Boston Scott, only had a few carries, stuff like that. And I was like, what are you doing?
yeah.
But what we see is with Josh Allen is that whether he throws the ball, runs the ball, he's a threat, and you have to account for him at all times when he
Mhm.
gets the ball off. you got to make sure, did he really hand it off or did he pull it back? And now he's streaming down the sidelines because everybody bought the handoff and they're going trying to engage one way and he's going the opposite way.
Yeah, you take Saquon Barkley off the Eagles and you put Gainwell in there as the starter. It's gonna hurt. It's definitely gonna hurt. But they're still, able to do some things with Kenneth Gainwell. But you go to the Buffalo Bills side and you take off Josh Allen, you stick Mitchell Trubisky in there. The Bills might not have won 5 games this year.
I'm with you there. There's no way in the world.
No.
And they damn sure wouldn't be winning their division.
Hell no.
No, sir. No, sir. Ain't no way. No. So as much as I would love Saquon to win as a non-quarterback, I have to be consistent and say, no, the MVP needs to go to truly the most valuable player.
Yeah.
And right now, that is definitely Josh Allen. Now, could I see a way of them splitting the baby and giving Saquon the offensive player of the year? Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'd be all right with that. I'd be all right with that. I'm sure Saquon would be too. Even if he breaks the record. Yeah, especially if he breaks the record, I would give him offensive player of the year. But I mean, you got another guy that's honestly in that running too. So he would need to get some votes. Jamar Chase is killing this league right now. He's on a losing team. It ain't because of him. He's leading the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
Yeah. And he's got one quarterback in there. We talked about this last week too. He's got one quarterback in Joe Burrow, who I am begging for anybody just to beat the Bengals just one more time because I do not want to see this team in the playoffs, man. I'm telling you.
They are dangerous.
Yeah.
Jamar has 102 receptions, 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, right? The leading quarterback in the league is one Joe Burrow with 3,977 yards. So he's going to go over 4,000 this weekend. Jared Goff probably is too. But he has 30. Listen, if I told you a quarterback has 3,977 yards, has completed 68% of their passes, has 36 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions, and a QBR of 107.1. And then I said, but would you believe that this team has only won 6 games?
Hell no. I'd be like, no, that's a 9-5 team right there. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Minimum 9-5.
That's crazy. Anthony says, look at Cup. Triple Crown numbers. His Chase numbers close to his. Yeah, but Anthony, the same issue is but who got Cup the ball? It was Matthew Stafford. So I agree. Cooper Kupp should have been the MVP. But because they didn't want to give it to a non-quarterback, that put him out for it. Should he have gotten maybe consideration for offensive player of the year? Absolutely. But that's my point. They're not going to give it. But Kupp was having that type of season, but was Kupp really making anybody else around him better? And I think about an MVP. Now, did he make the team better as far as his production? Yes. But when you think about an MVP, and this is why I always said, if you're a number 1 draft pick like Bryce Young, I look for you to be a force multiplier. Are you the guy that can get on the team and start throwing balls to guys that we ain't never heard of? The Jordy Nelsons of the world, the Julian Edelmans of the world, and make them guys so good on your team that when they go to other teams, they're an afterthought.
Yeah.
And then you realize that what made them look so good was the guy that was under center.
It's hard for a wide receiver to be that force multiplier like that.
Right,
because, Kupp, he caught a high volume of passing, no doubt about that. You got Puka Nacua doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for a wide receiver to win like that. You're looking for like the Randy Mosses where he was burning people game after game with deep passes and 40 yards, 50
Mossing
yards,
people,
60
going up,
yards.
just going up there and getting it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and Cup just didn't have those highlights. He's got a high volume, but he ain't got no highlights like that.
Not like that. Not like that.
Not like that.
Now, if he was mossing people, then that'd be
Right,
one thing.
mossing
But
people.
what he's doing is he's using deceptive speed to run precise routes to get open and has a great chemistry with the quarterback, where the quarterback can release the ball before he gets to the top of the route, knowing where he's going to end up on that route.
Yeah.
And being able to produce a certain amount of yards after the catch. That is a great thing. And it doesn't take away from what he did and what he was doing. But is that going to make him an MVP? No.
Yeah. That's exactly my thought process, man. It's like I didn't want to take away from what he was doing because what he's doing is great. It really is. But MVP level, you know, people are looking for a little bit more of an impression left on their memory for those MVP wide receivers. You know, the Torrey Holt, Bruce's, the TOs. You know, that level right there, man. So
oh yeah, that's absolutely. When Adrian Peterson had his run, and they were like, he all day, AD, he all day, go. Yeah, that's the kind of production that you're talking about. The highlights where he'll sit there and get bottled up and just break out and just untouched. So all of that is happening. Looking at the current standings, though, Rand, you've got the Bills in the AFC, right behind the Chiefs. The Bills are 11-3. Chiefs are 13-1. But now, the Steelers have actually clinched a playoff spot. The Texans have clinched their division. The Chiefs have clinched their division, and the Bills have clinched their division. But there's still some jockeying to be done. The Steelers, though that they've clinched a playoff spot, have not clinched the division, and some of that could be settled this weekend, where on Saturday at 4:30, the Steelers have to go to Baltimore and face the team that's behind them currently.
Yeah. And you know, I always put that 10-game thing as a marker to get into the playoffs. And you know, I was right about that. 10 got them in this year. But the thing about that is I don't want them to like back into the playoffs, which is to win 10 games and then get on a losing streak right before the playoffs. That ain't good.
No.
But they're faced with that. They really are faced with that due to this hard schedule. I don't see them beating Baltimore this Saturday. I really don't. I think Baltimore is going to be fired up as all hell to win this game at home. And they usually split anyway. I mean, the Steelers took the last one. I just think Baltimore is going to take this one. You know, we got my man TJ Watt. He's hobbled with a sprained ankle, and you know he's the heartbeat of that whole daggone team.
And you need Pickens, and I don't know if he's going to play or not.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to play either. So I just don't see us coming out of that game. We might even get spanked in this game.
I kind of think you will, and only because I can see drives stalling and them having to settle for field goals, and I can see Lamar. I mean, listen, I've been hard on Lamar as much as anybody else, and I still will be until I see what he does in the postseason. And I know against the Giants, but did you see this man go 21-25 for 290 and 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, and you know, that's just got me thinking. I got to keep it real. I got to take the fandom out of me as a Steelers fan. You know, the line on that game is Baltimore -6.5. I'm so confident that the Steelers going to lose that game. I put $100 down on it that the Ravens are going to cover that spread. I really feel they are. I really feel they are.
Yeah. Anthony says, so you don't think a different quarterback will change Pittsburgh offense against Baltimore? What do you mean, like putting Justin Fields in instead of Russ? Hell no.
No. I mean, who's going to catch for them, though? That's the thing that they're struggling with right now.
because you can lock down Freiermuth, you can lock down Washington. Um, that's not going to help you if you don't have Pickens out there to be that guy that's going to basically command a lot more attention. So not
Pickens
having
opened up.
Pickens opens everybody else up. He's a
Correct.
multiplier in that way, in that his presence on the field, you have to account for him, give him special attention, which means that the other guys face a lot more one-on-ones and stuff like that. And if they can win some of those one-on-ones, then you have a chance. But you cannot trade field goals for touchdowns.
No, man, and you said this the key thing. Pickens just opens up everything offensively because what teams are starting to do now is just starting to put that safety in the box, and
Yep.
they want Pittsburgh to beat them over the top, and Pittsburgh has not really been able to do that these past couple of weeks without Pickens. But Pickens out there, he's burned teams so many times deep that safety ain't gonna dare creep up to the line of scrimmage. He's got to stay back there and help the cornerback. So that in turn helps the running game because
I don't
now
have
he has one less dude to beat when he's got the ball handed off to him, and the tight ends too.
Yeah, and that is going to be a thing too, where your running backs are going to probably have to end up being de facto receivers.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is them catching the ball out the backfield a lot of times does not always help you because now they got to make the first person miss.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got to defend on really good blocking. And even if they do catch the ball on the line because maybe they start up. What's up, Robbie?
What's going on, Robbie?
Hope everybody's doing well. We are doing excellent. Even if you do sit there and slot them out and stuff like that, that's normally going to be for short yardage. You're not going to necessarily have them, running all of the route trees and stuff like that. So they may give you the same. They're not going to give you anything different than what a Freiermuth is going to give you.
No.
The field. So you still need that that clown to be able to go out there and stretch out the field. If you can't go vertical on the Ravens, you're not going to have a shot. And last time seeing Justin Fields start, he wasn't necessarily pushing the ball down the field like Russ does with those moon balls. If you don't go vertical against the Ravens, if you're not going north and south and all you're doing is a bunch of east and west on them, that does not sound like a recipe of success. And really, that's all I see Justin being able to do, other than potentially run the ball. But do you really want Justin to have to sit there and do a bunch of RPOs all game to just and use his legs to try to stay in the game? They'll knock his ass out that game so fast, it ain't gonna happen.
He's gonna get hurt that way, man, especially against Baltimore.
Especially against Baltimore. And they're gonna make sure they hurt him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That rivalry game, they're gonna make
sure.
You keep on running that ball and our defense disrespecting us like that, and we're gonna show you what time it is.
Every time you get back up off that ground, it's gonna be slower and slower every time.
Yeah.
Till you gonna say, I can't get up no more. And I know you got to get up out of here, but I just wanted your opinion on DeAndre. Now I forgot his name. The guy suspended from the 49ers for not wanting to go into the game.
Oh man, deservingly so. Absolutely deservingly so. You just can't do that, man. First of all, Greenlaw is coming back from injury, right?
Yeah.
He's the starter. That's his position. You are not as good as Greenlaw. What are you even thinking about right now?
So you sat there and said, I dressed for the game, and then they said even before Greenlaw got hurt, another cat got hurt, and they told him to go in, and he wouldn't go in. Then when Greenlaw got hurt, they said, hey, we really need you to go in. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And going to walk off the field into the locker room because he in his feelings.
Yeah, pouting, going home, straight in his feelings. My grandma gave me that chain type bull crap, man. It's like, come on, dude. It's like, this is the NFL. That's a Greenlaw spot. Greenlaw is not a Hall of Famer, but a Pro Bowler. You are not that dude. You are not that dude. You are filling in for that dude. So you need to understand your role.
The only reason you got to start in the first place was because he was hurt.
Exactly. Now that he's back, you going to resort back to your role. That's how it is. And you can't be pouting because dude takes your spot.
And though you were productive, if you had done what Greenlaw did and then some, then they would have had a harder choice to make once Greenlaw came back.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So all they're basically saying is you didn't do enough to supplant the starter, so you kept the seat warm. But once he came back, it was with the understanding that you're gonna have to get your ass about that seat.
Yep. So a lot of people was like wondering, well, why come they just didn't cut him after that? Well, it's like they didn't want to cut him because they didn't want to give him an opportunity to latch on with another team
Another
so he
team,
would get
yeah,
paid. So
right.
they're going to figure out a way to suspend him to hurt him in his pockets. Since his non-play hurt them, they are in turn going to hurt him. And ain't no better way to do that than hit you in the pockets.
We suspended you without suspending. I mean, we cut you without cutting you.
Yeah, yeah.
We suspended you, so now you're going to lose game checks, and now they're going to try to recoup some of the signing bonus that they gave him as well.
Yep,
Because,
and you ain't going to no other team to get another game check.
and now,
You can forget it. We're gonna hold on to you.
now they don't even have to worry about the players union stepping in because they just didn't cut him out right. They just
Exactly.
so all that
Guys, I got to get out of here.
all right, man.
So let me know about next week.
Will do.
If I don't holler at you next week, then Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Yes, sir. You too.
Enjoy New York. Maybe one day you and I could go up there and catch these pinstripe boys. That'll be something we need up. There you go.
Hey, I got one for you too. I got
There you go. We're gonna go up there and we'd be like Life sitting up there, Eddie Murphy and there, yeah, man, Judge.
You see, I'm ready.
Yeah, we'd be like the end of life with Eddie Murphy and
Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence, except we won't be that old.
No, not yet. But yeah, absolutely, my man. Have a great holiday. If we don't see each other before then, and we will get it going again in 2025 because we're gonna have a lot going on, even with the last couple of games in the regular season before we get to the playoffs. Merry Christmas, Randall, from Robbie.
Merry Christmas, Robbie. I'll be hollering at you privately, brother.
All
All right, y'all take care, man.
All right, man. We'll see you. All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna wrap up in just a little bit. Anthony said, I'm sorry, Robbie said he had a LeBron James tantrum. He most certainly did. And you know, when you put yourself above your team like that, that's really gonna be hard for another team to be able to look at him and say, well, hell, if he gets mad or frustrated, what's gonna keep him from doing that with us? That, you know, quitting on your team like that, uh, and putting yourself above your team is not a good reputation to have. Anthony, why Campbell crying? You've been playing for like 14 weeks. That's almost the whole season. It's only 3 or 4 weeks not playing. That's exactly right. And they did see some value in you because they did rely on you to back up one of their better players. But you got to kind of know your role. You know, look, this is just like having a side chick, and the side chick then caught feelings and decided that she wanted to be the main chick, and figured that if she sat there and performed good enough, you was gonna leave the main chick, and then she was gonna become the main chick. And they told him, and they let him know, no, you still a side chick. Now we can still find some use for you, but at the end of the day, know your role. So that's what happened to him. He ended up catching feelings, and it never goes great when you end up catching feelings. Guys, I really want to know what games you're looking forward to this weekend. Like I said, coming up, starting tomorrow, you got the Broncos and the Chargers. And while that doesn't necessarily sound like the sexiest game in the world, the Broncos have been playing pretty well of late. The Chargers have a pretty good defense. Herbert does Justin Herbert things, not the side chick. Man, I'm sorry, I still got some player pimp in me, so I can still equate a lot of things in life to pimping. Yeah, sorry. But you got the Broncos and the Chargers. That game is going to have a lot of implications because the Chargers right now are 8-6. If they could, and Denver is one win ahead of them at 9-5. So the Chargers win that game, then both of them would be at 9-6. That's going to have a lot of implications on the wild card spot. Aside from the Bills, Chiefs, and Steelers and Texans, no one else has clinched a spot just yet for the playoffs. So there's three more teams out there that's vying for the playoffs. Whether it's the Ravens at 9-5, whether you've got the Broncos at 9-5 right now. I think the Dolphins have pretty much counted themselves out. They're at 6-8. There's just too many other teams that with 3 games left, you would need them to lose all of their remaining games to have a chance. And I don't see that between the Broncos and the Chargers. If one of them continues to win, that's going to bump the Dolphins out of it. And then you've got the Ravens and Steelers fighting as well. The Bengals, the same issue. They're 6-8. They'd have to win all of their games and then just expect a lot of other teams to implode. So my best estimation right now is you're going to have some combination of Bills, Chiefs, Steelers, Texans, Ravens, Broncos, and maybe the Chargers still get in, even if they don't win against Denver, because even at 8-7, they would still be in a better driver's seat than any of the remaining teams underneath them. So there's still an opportunity for the Chargers to make it in, but it's going to be in some kind of combination. My honest opinion, I think the Ravens are going to take over the Steelers, and the Steelers are going to go in as a wild card, which is okay. I've seen the Steelers go in as a wild card and win the Super Bowl, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything, even though you want that home playoff game uh, for sure. The NFC is going to be a lot more complicated. You've gotten only 3 teams through this time that have clinched a playoff spot, but not their division. I'm sorry. They've clinched, yeah, they clinched a playoff spot, but not their division. That would be the Eagles, Lions, and Vikings. But the Packers are right there at 10-4, so it's a good chance that the NFC North may have, will probably have 3 teams representing in the playoffs. NFC South right now, you got the Buccaneers at 8-6, and but the Falcons are right there behind them. So if the Bucks stumble just a little bit, the Falcons could be there to pick up the pieces. 49ers, I think, are done. They're at 6-8. Again, they would need the Rams and the Seahawks and the Cardinals to stop winning so that they could catch up, basically backing themselves in. The Cowboys, same thing. They're at 6-8. They would really need a lot of these other teams to basically stop doing what they've been doing all season. And I just don't see it. It's probably a little bit too little too late for the Cowboys this year. And yes, I'm definitely grinning heavily on the inside. Commanders 9-5. They got some challenging games left. If they can split them, go 2-1, they should still be in pretty good shape to get that wild card spot, which would be huge for them after um, the turnaround that they've had. But yeah, so we got the Broncos and the Chargers on Thursday. Then on Saturday, we've got 2 games. We've got the Texans at the Chiefs. Um, that could be an interesting game. I think the Chiefs have enough to be able to beat the Texans. The Texans have worried me. The Cow Bitches will not make the playoffs. Amen, brother. I'm not been seeing enough from the Texans to give me hope with them. Even though they're going to the playoffs, I kind of see them as potentially being a one and done. Because CJ Stroud, in my opinion, has taken way too many sacks. Um, the running game has been up and down, even though they lean heavily on Joe Mixon. The first half of the season, he was really doing well, but the last couple of games hasn't been as great. So I kind of give the Chiefs the advantage, even if Carson Wentz ends up starting instead of Patrick Mahomes. The Steelers and the Ravens would be that second game on Saturday. And as me and Randall spoke, and even as him as a diehard Steelers fan, does not see the Ravens imploding. And actually, I can kind of see this really getting bad really early as far as um, this game goes. So we'll see. Other games on the schedule, I'll run through them real quick. We got the Giants going to Atlanta to face the Falcons. Even with Michael Penix Jr. In his first start, I see the Falcons pulling out that game. You got the Lions going to the Bears. You know, the Lions came up a little bit short against the Bills last week. I think this is kind of a get back game for them. I don't think they know what they're going to do with Caleb Williams. They've mismanaged him the whole way, and I think the Lions are going to take advantage of him. Broncos could be a sleeper. Robbie, I agree with you. The more and more I see Bo Nix play, the better and better he's getting. His chemistry with Cortland Sutton is just getting better and better all the time. I definitely agree with you on that. Javante Williams and the other running back, Estime, or however you say his name, they're doing well. So if they can control ball control, they could really do well in that game. I'm gonna still give the Chargers a little bit of heads up on that game. Number one, they're at home, and right now I'm just trusting Justin Herbert and J.K. Dobbins a little bit more than I do Denver. But I still think it's going to be a good game for a Thursday night game. You've got the Cardinals coming to Carolina to face the Panthers. This is probably going to be a bloodbath because the Cardinals have a decent defense, and Kyler Murray has been doing really, really well lately. He has improved a good deal and could possibly sneak out the Rookie of the Year. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you would have asked me that 8 games into the season, I would have laughed, and I did when I think Anthony brought that up. But if I really had to look at the last couple of games, Bo Nix has definitely at least earned some first ballot consideration. They may just go ahead and give it to Jaden Daniels only because of the turnaround that he had to do with that team and the way that he started. Um, has he been ultra special lately? He's had his moments, but it was like from start to finish, every time he would drop back, you were just like, wow, your mouth would just open and you hold your breath. Um, and you get those every now and then, but not nearly at the clip when the season first started. You got the Rams going to New York to face the Jets. I'm sorry, unless the Jets defense goes back to the defense of a year ago and starts picking off Matthew Stafford, I don't see the Jets slowing down Kyron Williams, Puka Nakua, and Cooper Cup. You got a good one that I would think should have been flexed out in some way or another, but you got the Eagles at the Commanders. It's a 1 o'clock game. That's going to be a good game. Two of our young quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. Um, this game is going to really have playoff implications. The Eagles being able to uh, take the division, or if they let the Commanders win, it's going to be another week delayed of that. But it also will give the Commanders, if they win, um, a tighter hold on that wild card spot if they can't win the division. That game is going to come back to be could be a deciding factor uh, in that because of strength of schedule. You got the Browns at the Bengals. This is what I call my annual Dookie Bowl. Both teams going nowhere fast. Even though the Bengals have a better upside, like I said, they have the quarterback that's throwing more yards than anybody else in the league. You've got the receiver that's received more receptions and received more yards and more touchdowns in the league and can have only mustered 6 games. I think the Bengals are going to win this game because I think Jameis Winston is going to throw 3 interceptions. You got the Titans going to Indianapolis to face the Colts. This is also a 1 o'clock game. The Titans have benched um, Will Levis here, so we'll see who's going to start there. But you've got Richardson playing a little bit better. I think the Colts will actually win that game, even though neither one of them have any playoff aspirations this year. Another good one is going to be the Vikings at the Seahawks. This is going to be a 4:05 game. Minnesota has to travel to Seattle, but I think the way Sam Darnold has been playing, I don't think that's going to affect him at all. I expect the visiting team to win this game. You've got the Patriots going to um, Buffalo to play the Bills, and that could get bad real fast. I think that the Patriots will hang with them for the first couple of drives, and I think Buffalo will gain its feet and then just take the hell over. You got the Jags facing the Raiders. Why? Because they have to play. But why anybody would care, I don't know. I think you could basically just throw it up. One of them got to win. I would almost just go with um, the Raiders because they're at home. My mind is telling me the Jaguars are going to come in, but Mac Jones, I just can't trust Mac Jones, y'all. Uh, 49ers have to go to Miami to face the Dolphins. The defense of the 49ers, I'm not worried about. Is it going to travel? I'm worried if the offense is going to travel. Can the 49ers bring their offense to Miami? Can the defense do enough to keep Tua from getting the ball downfield to Tyreek and get a lot of intermediate passes? The 49ers have just been eviscerated with injuries. Jordan Mason is out. Christian McCaffrey is out. Now you're relying on Garindo to run the ball, and he's done well running the ball, but so has Achan for the Dolphins. Those can negate each other. When I look at the quarterbacks, Tua has been more accurate lately than Brock Purdy, and they're the home team. And the 49ers are having to come all the way from San Francisco. So that's why I'm going to get a slight edge, just by a little bit, to the Dolphins. You got the Buccaneers going into Dallas to face the Cowboys. Here's the problem. The Cowboys on paper, even with Dak being out, even with Trayvon Diggs being out, I would say are the better team. But they've only won one game at home this year. That's troubling. They have a very hard time winning at home. The Buccaneers, I see winning this game as long as Baker Mayfield doesn't start throwing the ball to the other team. I don't foresee him doing that. His chemistry with his tight end Otten has gotten better. And of course, Mike Evans is always a force to be reckoned with. And with no Trayvon Diggs out there to guard Evans, that could be interesting. That is going to be that Sunday night game as well. The Monday night game, you're going to have the Saints at the Packers. There is no way in the world that whether it's Derek Carr, Hayner, or Rattler, will they be able to keep up with the offense of the Packers. I just see Jordan Love getting loose with Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jordan Reed, those guys, and them making quick work of them. So that's all my picks, y'all. Love to know what you think. Like I said, we may jump on Tuesday to do something really, really quick. It would be an abbreviated show. So if you have time to tune in, just look out for it. I can't guarantee it. Depending on what my schedule is going to look like in New York. But if not, I hope y'all have a safe and wonderful holiday, regardless of what you celebrate. Thank y'all for a wonderful 2024. The next full show, though, will actually be in 2025 on New Year's Day. So until then, I hope y'all have a great, great, great time with family. Just unplug if you can, and we will be ready. We will see y'all again next year if we don't have a show on Tuesday. Take care, y'all. We'll see y'all later.